Last week I talked about gold coming into 1810, and that happened last week. And if we go to the daily time frame, you will notice the bounce, the rejection from the 1810 region, and you can see the massive bullish engulfing candle with which we closed for Friday. So for the incoming week, I'll be expecting a pullback. I'll expect gold to continue buying into certain zones, but don't get me wrong, gold is still in a massive downtrend. Clearly, you can see lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower low. So the zone that makes sense to me for gold to pull into is this zone here around 1816. All right, 1816. That's where it makes sense to me, but it looks like a big ask considering how bearish gold is at the moment. But anyways, let's go to the lower time frame so that we can look at zones closer to where price is trading at right now. So on the 4-hour time frame, you can see I labeled here the 4-hour zone and here the daily zone. So I'll be expecting bearish continuation either from this 4-hour zone, but if price fails to give us an entry at this 4-hour zone, then we'll be looking to continue selling from this daily zone here. All right, the daily zone is around 1885 and the 4-hour zone is around 1858. Let's check out the 1 hour. There's an interesting trend line on the 1 hour. So you can see how I captured here, then we'll be expecting the third touch. So the third touch aligns perfectly with the 4-hour zone. So we'll keep an eye on that area to see how price reacts there. So we'll be able to know if we are going to be taking the trade or we are just going to let it come into this daily zone up above. All right. But for the early part of Friday, I'll be expecting a bullish continuation on gold, especially considering how we closed for Friday last week. Last month was super bullish on DXY, as we all know. Now it's time for pullbacks. How do we catch the end of the pullback? Well, let's find out on the charts. Now let's go to dollar index. I'll be using the Dow Jones dollar index for today's analysis. First of all, let's see how we closed for the week. We already know that for last month we closed super bullish. Let's go to the monthly time frame. I'll be expecting dollar to push up all the way to this level here, which is 13552. So I'll be expecting a continuous push to the upside on dollar on the monthly time frame. Then going down to the weekly time frame, I remember telling you that I'll be expecting a retest of this yellow zone before we go higher, and considering how we closed for last week, it's looking like that is going to actually play out before we continue the next bullish push, but we can't see it clearly on the weekly time frame. So now let's come down to the daily time frame. So on the daily time frame, this is that yellow zone. All right, it has been tested multiple times if you look left. So considering the bearish momentum we experienced towards the end of last week, I'll be expecting price to come into this yellow zone before we continue higher, something like this. All right, before we continue all the way to the top here. So this daily zone is around 13060. All right, within that zone, that's where I'll be expecting the bullish continuation from. Now let's check out the 4-hour time frame. If you look at the 4-hour time frame, I have a powerful bullish trend line here capturing these first two touches, 1 and 2. All right, and not just those two, also captures this third touch here, and now price is using that area as an area of support right now as we speak. But with the way price dropped towards the end of last week, I think we may breach that trend line. So dollar has a very big decision to make at this point. So if we see a solid rejection, maybe a solid bullish candlestick, then we may just continue going higher. All right, but will most likely like to see price come into this yellow zone, just like I did on the daily time frame, right? Come into this yellow zone before we continue higher all the way into 13505. That's my long-term view on dollar index for now. So if you've made it this far and you are yet to like this video and subscribe to this channel, please, now is the time to do so. All right, it motivates us to keep dropping these contents week in, week out. Thank you as you do so. Now that we've seen what is happening on the dollar index, let's quickly take a look at some dollar pairs, starting with Euro USD. Euro USD last week closed bullish, right? I mean, price has been dropping significantly. We've created new lows, right? Like, as you can see, this is a new low, right? This was the previous low that has been taken out like this. So I'll be expecting a pullback before we continue lower. At some point, we are definitely going to see that pullback, and it looks like the pullback is now upon us. Now let's check out the daily time frame. On the daily time frame, we've also been creating series of new lower lows and lower highs. Last month was highly profitable for me on Gbpusd, most especially. We're going to look at that next. And so price really fell last month, but we can notice the stall last week that price is about to go into a retracement, a pullback. So on Euro USD, on this daily time frame, I'll be expecting that pullback to come into this region here before we continue lower. All right, maybe all the way to the downside, but at least with this area, which is 1.04669 as our first target. All right, so what I'm saying in a nutshell is I would like to see a pullback into this zone on the daily time frame before we fall back to the downside. Now let's check out the 4 hours so that we can see things clearly. So on the 4 hour, no doubt we are in a clear and obvious bearish trend. All right, but like we already know, at some point we are going to see some pullbacks, and like I said earlier, the pullback is now upon us. So now that we've breached this trend line, I'll be expecting price to come into this trend line above here. This trend line has been tested about 3 times historically. This is 1, this is 2, this is 3. All right, so I'll be expecting a third touch. All right, I'll be expecting a third touch before we drop all the way back to the downside. All right, so it is around here I'll be looking for sells. All right, so if I see my setup play out, I see a massive rejection there, then I'm going to jump into the trade. So for prop firm traders, you know the drill. When price is approaching these important zones, you need to switch to the lower time frames, because you cannot trade prop firm accounts on the 4 hour time frame, right? So when price is approaching these zones, then you want to switch to the lower time frames, probably the 15 minutes time frame, the 30 minutes time frame, the 1 hour time frame, to catch an earlier entry so that you can have a tighter stop loss and bigger reward. So that is Euro USD in a nutshell. Let's go to Gbpusd, which is the next on my list. Gbpusd looks pretty much like Euro USD. But before we continue, guys, if you want to learn how to do these stuffs effortlessly like me and my students, then you want to get our course, get mentored, and cash out like our students. My withdrawals for the month of September is also out. All right, as you can see on your screen. So let's flex. So now let's get back to the analysis. Gbpusd, obviously this is the weekly time frame, obviously, and you can see how bullish we closed for last week. So should we be expecting a continuous push to the upside? Definitely yes. All right, but not all the way to the upside, because we are currently in a downtrend. So what we'll be experiencing now is just a minor pullback then before we continue the trend. Now let's go to the daily time frame. On the daily time frame, just like the Euro USD, price is pushing higher, and remember I predicted all this drop. Actually called your attention to the fact that Gbpusd is creating a head and shoulders pattern, and this head and shoulders pattern is not happening on the lower time frame, it's happening on the daily time frame. So that's a big deal, right? So it's most likely that it is definitely going to play out. I made significant money on Gbpusd. Gbpusd alone gave me 37% last month. It was an amazing ride, and we hope to continue the same this month. However, I've experienced losing trade last week. All right, I'm going to show you the pair I experienced that loss. All right, it is normal, it's just the cost of doing business. I mean, I was trading in line with the trend, and price had other plans, right? Price was actually interested in going for a pullback. So I predicted all this drop after spotting this head and shoulders pattern, and price has actually played out. So it's time for pullbacks, right? And we've seen 3 days of solid bullish price action, which was Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, right? Let's check out the 4-hour time frame so that we can see where we should rejoin, or the zone that price will most likely continue bearish from. So I'm just going to use, it's just a simple trend line I'll be looking at for this one. As you can see, I've captured the first touch, second touch, third touch, and then price is pushing higher. Price has broken out of this trend line. So this next trend line here is where I'll most likely be expecting a bearish continuation to happen from. All right, so you can pause this video, plot this trend line just like you see me do here, and so that you can follow along. All right, so this is my outlook on GBP USD in a nutshell. Now let's check out USD CHF. USD CHF took my money on Friday. All right, I did everything right. This is the same strategy I executed that gave me my close to 50 across all pairs, close to 50% return last month. All right, so I did nothing wrong, but sometimes price will not just do exactly what you want it to do. So on USD CHF, price actually stopped me out on Friday. Very, very painful, right? So let's check out the weekly time frame. You can see that price has been super bullish on USD CHF. We've seen so many weeks of bullish price action. Since this is the weekly time frame, each of these candlesticks represents weekly price action. All right, and remember, I predicted all this move to the upside.
So right now I'm telling you that we're going to go bullish, and some people will be like, nah, this guy must be joking, but I don't care.
However, I didn't trade USD CHF throughout last month, and when I decided to trade it, that was when it dealt with me. So we can see that price has created a new high. So that was why I was even confident in the trade. I saw the pullback happened and I took advantage, but the trade actually took advantage of me. So let's continue, guys. So price is still sitting on this zone. However, considering what DXY is doing, Euro USD and GBP USD is doing, this guy has no option to follow in the same direction. So I'll still expect some drop to the downside, but into where? Let's go to the 4-hour time frame to see that. Remember last week I called your attention to the fact that if price fails to keep pushing higher or respect this trend line, which was actually what I wanted to see last week. So if price fails to respect this trend line, and let's say price breaks below the trend line, then this trend line below here will be my next level, all right, to catch a buy from. So I'll be looking at this trend line and how price reacts to this trend line. All right, remember, we don't just jump into trades blindly. We want to see certain factors play out that aligns with our edge. So either win or lose, then you make your trading decision. Like here, I followed my strategy, but I lost the trade. So there's nothing to hide there. It's part of trading. Everyone must embrace losses at some point. All right, sorry that I'm talking about it over and over and over again. I'm kind of pain in a way, but let's move on. Right, let's move on. Let's forget about yesterday. So USD CHF, once again, I'm looking at this trend line below. You can pause this video, just capture these touches. Just capture these touches. 1, 2, then wait for the third one. All right, wait for the third touch to get into the trade. And not just the third touch. Remember, like I said, you want to look at how price reacts to the trend line before you jump into the trade. Now, last on my list for today's video is oil. I analyzed oil yesterday. Last week, when I predicted that price was going to fall into this zone, because that was what made sense at the time. I don't expect price to just keep pushing higher from there. What made sense to me at the time was for price to drop into this zone, and price has dropped into that zone. But with the massive bearish weekly candlestick I'm seeing right here, I don't think price is going to pull back exactly from this zone. I believe price is still going to push down below, maybe probably next week's weekly candle will be smaller. All right, let's go to the daily time frame. Don't let me bore you with all those stuff I'm talking about. So you can see actually expected price. I was expecting price to pull back from this zone. Remember, my target is 115.61, and I know that price will come there at some point. However, if price fails to continue bullish from here, for me to go bullish, let me even tell you my thought process on this. So for me to go bullish, I have to see a candlestick close above this gray zone. Then I'll now start trading that. So you see, it requires patience, right? However, if price keeps dropping, then this zone below, which is this red trend line, will be my next area where I'll be expecting price to come into before pushing all the way to the upside. So this is what I'm looking at on oil. Thanks guys for sticking to the end of this video, and if you are not yet subscribed, I know that I give value on this channel, so I need your reward guys. Reward me by subscribing and liking this video, and also sharing this video to like minds like you and I, right? And if you want to learn how to do this effortlessly, I remember I said it earlier, so I'm just going to say it again. Grab our Forex mentorship courses. Use this link below your screen right now, or click the link in the description of this video down below and make your payments and step up your trading journey. So with this, I wish you a successful trading week, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.